Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When it comes to home and auto insurance, it's important to have the right coverage from a company and an agent you can trust. Someone who will help you properly protect the people and things you love most. So if the unexpected happens, you and your family can rest insured. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going well. This is a big day, or big month.
Big month.
Big month, and I think everyone should agree.
Yes.
In my view, this is one of my favorite months because this is one of my favorite things.
And it is?
Beef month.
Yeah. So we made a big mistake today, Matt. Here's the problem. We recorded a podcast literally within the 45 minutes before lunchtime and have another one right after. And all we did was talk about
Beef.
Food products, specifically beef.
Yes, things I will eat now if they would let me.
It would be a tough day to eat a
We
chicken
should have
sandwich.
ate cheeseburgers while we were doing that.
Would have been great audio.
Yeah, people would have loved hearing that. But no, it's beef month, and we have a great guest to talk about that. But I do, when we talk about beef, what's the go-to? What is your thing that of beef products, there's so many great ones.
So many options.
What's the one?
So I don't know if I'll call it an unpopular opinion, but people are like, girls eat fillets and men eat ribeyes. I'm a New York strip girl because it's the perfect amount of ounces. Like if I go too big of a steak, I'm not gonna be able to eat it all, and then I'm gonna do it anyway because my father taught me that's what you do. You eat the meat first, and then those sides are left on your plate, whatever. But honey, we came for the steak, and so. But if I get a fillet, I just don't. They're almost too soft and that's silly. The strips, I just call it my happy medium. It's my middle ground steak.
Yeah, I'm weird because I like steak so much. So we go to the restaurant, and I don't look for steak. I look for ounces.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I go, all right, I can go this kind of ounce for a ribeye, or they got a big fillet.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. That changes
things.
Then
you start going, okay, maybe we'll go there because I'm here to eat some meat here. But sometimes a good big sirloin, depends on where you're at.
I'm not anti-sirloin, especially some of these restaurants put some cool toppings on them.
Uh-huh.
Give me a little blue cheese, like kind of a crust on it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, come on.
Right. So yeah, I like this month. I love to just give myself any reason to eat more of it this month. So yeah, I'm planning to celebrate all throughout May.
Question though, how do you get your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
Okay, just checking. We can still be friends.
Yeah, I mean, we want to tell a story, and this person doesn't listen to the podcast, so it'll be okay. So we went with a couple to a nice restaurant here in town, and so expensive steak, right?
Okay.
And you don't go to expensive steak place and ask for well done, good.
No.
You should be thrown out, right? And so and I didn't know this was going to happen, and I know I made a terrible face.
Were you upset or more embarrassed, to the waiter? I'm sorry.
This is like a friend of ours,
person.
and she said that, and I was like, God. And it changed everything. I don't look at this person the same anymore. No, I'm just kidding. It's just great. But I was like, what? And I will say the waiter's like, hey, this is your steak. We're gonna do it how you want, And I was like, you're gonna need put A1 on that or something. You're just ruined.
Well, and see, then when people order A1, and I'm like, you shouldn't. That's insulting to the chef. You should not, if you're at my house and you ask for A1, I'm just going to look at you like we cook good steaks. We don't use A1. But then they order it well done. I go, wow, no wonder you're eating shoe leather.
Yeah, you got to bring something back with the A1 at that point. So.
What's worse, a well done steak or somebody that has a correctly cooked steak and orders ketchup to go with it?
Oh, correctly cooked steak and ketchup.
Yeah,
what are you doing? Stop whoever taught you this.
Another person that doesn't listen to this podcast but would be infuriated if he found out I did that would make fun of that person every time. And to the point that when he goes, excuse me, to the waiter, we all go, oh my, and we all just start just berating him. And he's like, I don't even care. It's my steak. And we're like, oh, shot to the gut. I mean, come on.
Can you bring some ketchup? Oh, man.
But today I think it's going to be a burger day, mostly because we have all of T-minus 20 minutes to get this done before the next podcast. But it'll be a burger day. It's probably a good day to break diet and just eat the fries too.
Sure.
And people tell me it's Derby in Louisville. Everything in May feels like Derby, even if it's over after the first weekend. And they're like, oh, why do you not hit all the Derby stuff? I was like, you understand. First day of May, I'm going to start going to Burger Month stuff. I'm going to eat a burger or a ribeye sandwich every day somebody will feed me one.
Yeah, I think these things need to merge in the state of Kentucky.
Honestly.
Like, you just need to go ahead and, horse racing and cheeseburgers.
Immediately.
Would be a great thing. So,
Yeah.
No, but we have a great guest. I think we both have known her for quite a while. And, just a wonderful person, speaks so highly of agriculture. Let's study her role, but she's also like perfectly suited to do this. So I'm excited to have Joanna on the podcast.
Yeah, you guys will enjoy it. Without further ado, I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
And this is Between the Rows. All right, Joanna, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so I'm sure the listeners can hear you are calling today, so we appreciate it. It is a very busy time of the year, so we are always excited if we can snag an hour from anyone. But let's kick it off. If you don't care, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, I grew up on a tobacco, game bird, and vegetable farms in a very small town called Deer Lick. And then I continued my education at the University of Kentucky, majoring in animal science there, and then graduated in 3.5 years so I could start farming and start working for the Extension Service here in Warren County. So I've been doing this for about 26 years.
Wow. So what do you do? Like, let's talk a little bit about your role and what do you do?
So we basically serve as the educational liaison to the University of Kentucky. We bring all the research, the information, the evidence-based knowledge to the communities that we serve here in Warren County. And so some of my biggest roles here in Warren County is to obviously support the farmer in their education, problem solving, weed ID, if they have disease issues, insect issues, things like that. And then talk a little bit more about risk management, how to increase their profitability. Another major role I have is just ag awareness. We are a very progressive community here in Bowling Green, and so there's a lot of people that have been removed from the farm several generations. And so just talking about agriculture and where your food comes from, not to fear your food, that we have a great group of farmers here in the community that can provide a lot of different options to buy food here locally from your neighbor.
Yeah, absolutely. God, you gave me like 4 different questions right off that one answer. Okay, I'm going to jump back for a second. Tell us about what you guys farm yourself, because I do feel like we'll deep dive into Bowling Green, I'm sure. We got a Topper as the co-host, so I mean, he'll have all kinds of so, but and just the way that community is and the agriculture still being so prominent. I mean, I have a million questions on that, but go back for me before we truly dive there. Talk about you guys farming and maybe how that impacts how you work as an extension agent, if that makes any sense.
I think it makes it very real when I'm paying those, high input prices, dealing with market fluctuations, if there is a new insect or disease or too much water, not enough water. I live that every day. And so I think it makes it very relevant for me to be able to assist farmers. So currently, I grew up with tobacco, game birds, and vegetables. And let me tell you, I ran from agriculture for a while. I thought, man, there has got to be a better way. This is hard. And I saw my family struggle, just making everything work and cash flow. Both my parents worked on the farm, didn't work public work. And so I didn't want to be in agriculture, actually. And I feel like sometimes God laughs at our plans, because I said I would never be a farmer, I would never be in agriculture, and I never moved back home, and I did all 3. So we had the opportunity to purchase a farm, and at the time we were 21 and 22, and so very few commercial lenders looked at us and thought, yeah, y'all need this farm. And so luckily through USDA, through the Farm Service Agency, we were able to purchase our first farm, but that means that I needed to get health insurance. My husband was farming full time. And so we wanted to do cattle. I didn't want to do tobacco. That was my only thing. Those many, many years in the tobacco patch, I thought, I don't want to do that. But it was actually one of my most favorite extension programs in the beginning of my career, but we won't go there. But so we started background in cattle, and then we transitioned to a cow-calf operation. And so now we're primarily cow-calf. We have some row crop and we raise quite a bit of hay. And then our children have been involved. They all got a project just to kind of teach them. When I was in the tobacco patch complaining about hoeing out weeds, my dad said, "This is character building. You'll look back on this one day." And I thought, there is no way, but he was right. And so I decided to torture my kids the same way. But
Nice.
they have projects. They have chickens and pigs, and my son does. He's still at home, and so we kind of have a little variety of everything.
Very cool. You talked about ag awareness in your role and being in a part of a pretty urban area, with Bowling Green just growing and growing and growing. What do you mean? What are some of the things that you do to help kind of give more ag awareness to your community?
So, a lot of times we have to go where the people are, right? And so social media is a big part of my program. We also have a television show that airs here locally on the ABC and Fox affiliate that we talk about agriculture. And also have a radio program. It's a 30-minute radio program. We talk about agriculture issues, very timely topics from week to week. And maybe just explain, we talked about egg prices and why they were so high. And a lot of times the things that I talk about are the things that I address or the calls that I get into the office. Because one lady called and said, "Well, why are egg prices high, but my chicken breast prices in the grocery store aren't skyrocketing? I mean, it's still a chicken, right?" And so it gives us the opportunity to be able to explain that and tell people more about agriculture. And so some of that goes through one-on-one education when people call into the office and give me an opportunity to be able to explain that. And I'm very proud that people feel like that they can. If they have a question about anything about their food or farming, they can call here and get some information that is unbiased.
So talk through that for me, because it is wild. I mean, that's a very thoughtful question. Most of the time I just get it straight at, why are my eggs expensive? So the fact that there's that secondary piece, I do feel like, and it's the unpopular way to say it, I'm sure, from an ag industry side, but we as farmers accidentally sometimes are just like, the consumer's dumb. The consumer doesn't know. They ask me silly questions. I don't have patience. Talk through, maybe how do you find that extra bit of patience or really dig in when you're talking to these guys, just to see, because that is a very well thought out question, but I'm sure you get some of the ones that maybe a regular farmer would think are kind of silly, but every piece of education has to help, right? So kind of how do you find that patience, and was it tough for you at first to understand how to talk to people like that?
I think we're conditioned that way. We're around other people in agriculture. It's a wonderful community, very tight knit. And so, some people might think, "Oh, well, how do people not know that? How do people not know that, chocolate milk doesn't come from a brown cow?" And I would have to admit that right out of college, I was probably the same way. But, you just don't know what you don't know. You don't want me working on your car at all. I do not know anything about it. I know how to get in, put the key but push the button now, and it starts. And beyond that, I really don't know much about it. And so a mechanic would think, "Oh gosh, this girl doesn't know what she's doing," right? And rightfully so, I don't. And so it's the same thing in agriculture. There's so many people, and I think that having conversations with people has helped me realize that people just want to know, and we need to be accessible, and we need to be kind, in those things, because there's no way you can know everything, right? We had the privilege of being able to grow up on a farm in agriculture. I feel like the best community around, and so we want to share that with other people and have them involved, because honestly, they are involved. They are the consumer, and we appreciate them purchasing our products and supporting us.
I'd say this: when I joined working Farm Bureau, I was a city boy. I came here to make videos, and I got the question, in my job interview. It was like, "Well, you don't have an ag background. What you're going to work for Farm Bureau?" And I go, "Well, I'm going to ask a lot of questions, because that's what you do in making a video." And I think being a little naive is not the worst thing when you're asking those questions. So I've always understood that that folks don't really know things. It's not, we use a lot of different terminology for that, but it's like that. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
It's the blessing of our industry that it's so easy that they kind of don't have to know.
Yeah.
Is that because it's just there,
Right.
So we have to aggressively and proactively kind of make sure people understand that it didn't just show up at the grocery store or whatever you want to say, right? So I think that's, as a communicator myself for Farm Bureau, that's a big role of what we do, is just kind of make sure people know the thing they don't know, right? And I think that's a big part of, sounds like what you're doing.
Yeah, and we have a county extension council ag advisory group here in the county, and they meet and they kind of give me a guidance on what they would want me to work on. Probably about 10 years ago, they were like, we know where to find grain production information. We have consultants. We have this. This is not where we want you to work. We don't want to take the calls. We don't want to do this. We want you to tell people about what we do. Tell the story of agriculture. And, I was kind of like, okay, if that's what you want me to do, then that's what we're going to focus on. And I do think it's brought a lot of awareness to the community, for people to feel good about their food and where it comes from, and put a face with a product that I know that this farmer is producing this, feeds it to their family, and then I can feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I laugh and I always tell people I know my why. Like, why do I want to farm? Why do I want to have a family in agriculture? Why did I enjoy growing up? But I don't maybe know the why of why we do things the way we do until somebody asks me to explain it to them. And when I try to get it into layman's terms, and it's not just because that's how we've done it or because that's the right thing to do, you got to make yourself realize. I mean, like, people ask me, well, defend no-till. That's a great question. Let me remember, why do we want, like, you got to force yourself to really, and so I tell people all the time, making myself explain to a consumer that doesn't know the ag jargon makes me push myself to learn more about things that are a why for me, of why we do things the way we do them, that maybe I've just, because it works, because the dollars are there, because the production's there, but why is it there? What's the mechanism behind that that's making that click? And so I find it as a good challenge when maybe a family member or somebody in the community that's not ag, it's like, what is it even? Why?
Yeah,
and I got to make myself know the why.
I totally agree. Like, when I hear something crazy, like you would think, how do you not know that? That's just them kind of telling on us that we maybe haven't talked about it enough.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think great communicators see that, they kind of go, okay, well, why am I getting asked for that? Or why are we getting questions about that? And it's like, well, maybe we didn't do such a good job here. We need to talk a little more about it. And I think that's great that you're out there, trying to champion that and do that.
Very insightful of an extension council to think that far ahead. 10 years ago, this was not cool.
Right, right.
Exactly. But, I think they felt the pressure. I mean, obviously it's gotten a lot more progressive, right? But at that time, they were farming with new subdivisions right beside of them. And, just the understanding of pesticide use and why and those type of things, they didn't have the time to tell people about it. So they were like, you have time, you do it.
So I always ask this to those that work a lot of times in your role, but even farmers in the counties that, I say the counties that actually are a city and not a county first. So you're Bowling Green, it's Paducah, it's Elizabethtown. The ones that maybe aren't Louisville, Lexington, but you're kind of that middle ground where you're a little more of a town than you are county. You know what I'm saying? What kind of ag is in Warren County around Bowling Green? Like, help people understand you're not just one little city. Like, tell us what's going on in the county around people.
That's the beauty of Warren County, and I think it's what makes it so attractive, and that's why people flock here, because we do have the amenities of a city, but we have the rural lifestyle. We still have that. 70% of our land in Warren County is still agriculture, and so that's the great thing. Yes, the city is growing, certainly, and some of that is getting taken away. But we still have a lot of agriculture here. We're like first in fruit and tree nuts. Sheep, we're in the top 5 of 11th in crops, so dairy and beef cattle, row crops, hay. We kind of have a little bit of everything here. If you can raise it in Kentucky, we have it in Warren County. So that makes it nice, because when COVID happened, that's when, before COVID, that's kind of like our benchmark, right? Before COVID, I still had a lot of feedback about why do we need farmers here? We can take farmland here. We can get it from a neighboring county. Then COVID happened and the shelves were empty. And people were calling me saying, oh my goodness, I don't know where to get beef, or I don't know where to get bacon. and I was able to direct them to somebody locally that they could get those products from. So I get a lot less calls about or pushback. Like we're in a community meeting or something like that. We're talking about housing and, subdivision and development and things like that. That was always the argument before, but that's less of the argument now because I think people realize during that time period that it is important for us to have local food right here in our community that you can go get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's incredible to hear. I think we talk about COVID helped the local food movement, and then I always had people ask, "Well, when do you think it'll dip again?" And I said, "I don't know. I think it's really plateaued, but plateaued higher, and with the room to build in the right areas that have the consumers willing." And so, I think that's a win for farmers in that area to hear that some of the most complained about things probably are when we're talking development and zoning and those things. If ag's not on the top of the list to get rid of, I think even if it's a couple notches down, I think that's a huge win. So that's really impactful that the county is seeing the importance of having those producers in that type of ground in the county. That's really neat. So speaking on ag, it is May and it's beef month. I know we're in Louisville, so I think everybody up here thinks it's Derby first, but for us ag people, it's beef month.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, y'all have a lot of beef and in a very active cattlemen's group down there. Do y'all do anything for beef month? Do you get more questions? Do you get to do cool news segments? Kind of tell us what's your vibe during May going into that time frame.
So all the things, right? So I smell like a grill right now because we have a burger cook-off tonight with our Warren County Cattlemen's Association. And so we have different teams that are competing for the best burger. I know they have the Derby burger, and that's wonderful. And we usually try to promote whatever burger that is that wins the Derby burger. But we thought we would bring it home locally for people to be able to compete, to show off burgers. It gives us a time to talk about them. We're also going to highlight on our local television show, a burger bar, like how to set it up and how to make it real fancy. A lot of times we just have the burgers out there, but like really kind of how to create that hospitality and theme to your backyard burger picnic or event or gathering. And then obviously on all of our media outlets, we'll be promoting beef and the importance of it nutritionally, the amount of protein and vitamins and nutrients that it contributes to a healthy diet. We'll be promoting that because that's another question we get a lot. There's all these fad diets and all these spins out there. And so people will call and say, well, I can't eat red meat anymore. So what are my other options? And we really try to dig deep. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist or a medical professional, but I would like to know why. Like alpha-gal is real, and certainly you need to avoid red meat if you have that. But if it's just something that you might have heard on the internet, or maybe just we even have doctors that are anti-red meat. And so I love to have conversations with them. I don't know that I move the needle, but I at least hopefully make them think about some of the things that they're proposing that might not be scientifically accurate. So.
Yeah, I mean, as I get older, I gotta watch what you eat a little more and stuff like that. But anything I can use to my advantage to get to eat a steak, honey, I really think we need to support the local beef farmers and have steak again.
Absolutely,
right? I really think we need to, and anything I can do to help, I'm here to help with the beef industry this month for sure.
Just to be clear, he does this in June with ice cream as well. So
yeah,
he's an equal opportunity, big supporter.
Honey, this is just being helpful to the farmers that I help support. So
that is why we're friends, because I take advantage of June as Dairy Month too. I'm like, I need to go support Carl Chaney and eat ice cream. I mean, I'm just doing it for the farmer. Right?
I'm stepping up. I'm stepping up and helping out anytime I can in these months where we're celebrating something really good.
It's funny talking about taking credit. So there's some study, and I'm sure it was true. I saw it on Facebook, but a study came out that said millennials as a whole are eating more red meat because of these protein. And they put them as fad. We'll say they're a good diet. But anyway, these protein-heavy diets, and they're like, millennials as a whole are really eating a lot of red meat. I immediately texted my siblings, specifically one that's not a millennial, that's much younger, and was like, I don't know what y'all are doing, but my group's moving the needle. So y'all want to step it up, that'd be great. So anything to get a good gig at the family. But it is interesting. I've talked to a couple different, Dana, I almost said Parrott, Fentress over in Hardin County. We talk about this a lot. The different questions that people get as different diets kind of come and go, whether those are fads or whether they're, kind of based on a lot of nutritional facts. It has to be interesting being in your role and the questions you guys get. And you've obviously got a team of agents in Warren County that help you with those. But I'm sure the questions change and differ, and it probably cracks you up because the farmers are eating what the farmer's been eating the whole time, and we're excited with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, beef tallow has been the new trend that of late, and we have a couple local stores that are carrying it, and so they are just buying them out. I mean, everything from skincare to cooking with it, and so we even did a segment on the Beef Council has a recipe. It's like a beef tallow chocolate tort with a caramel bourbon sauce, and I
Sure.
thought.
Why not?
That sounds good,
Yeah,
right?
sure. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll try that. And so, but like eating beef tallow and chocolate, but hey, it worked. It was good. And I probably got more questions after that segment at church. It's crazy just in the community saying, hey, I saw you make that. Was it really good? I think I might try it. So
a little behind the scenes for our listeners. It is currently 11:37. So I'm hungry.
And we are talking food, buddy.
This is like the worst.
If we walk downstairs and you get a chicken sandwich after this podcast, I'm going to get after you.
It's cheeseburger day, for sure. Right after this one, for sure.
Well, hey, one more thing, and I know you talked about your kids, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Jenna. And I think that's where I really met Jenna was at, she was an outstanding youth on the female side for us a couple years ago, and I got to see her in D.C. And I've known Joanna for years, working, being at meetings with my dad and things, but you've got kids very active and kind of pursuing some of this too. What advice do you have, whether it's for your kids or just kids in the county, when it comes to that ag awareness piece? I feel like we always say ag literacy, but I like the term ag awareness of what's going on around you and then kind of the science and implications of what's going on. What advice would you have for anyone interested in doing some of those things like Jenna and your son have been doing?
I say just like get involved, right? I feel like sometimes I kind of feel bad because my son, he loves it, right? And so we have become very dependent on his help with feeding and things like that. I mean, he has his own herd. And so he's not just feeding our cattle, he's feeding his too. And so, but it's such a learning opportunity. I mean, like he's learning things about ester synchronization, about some things that are very hands-on that you might not get in a classroom at his age. He's 16. And so like getting them involved and having them have that understanding and knowledge so that when people talk to him, if they have questions, he's able to answer those questions among his group of peers. And that's a great way to promote agriculture. So, he's not going to take the main stage. That's just not something that he's comfortable with, but he'll have a one-on-one conversation about agriculture, about chickens, pigs, whatever it is. And I think that's really neat. And we post pictures. He's just gotten these 2 show pigs. Okay. And, Renee, his favorite is the Duroc. But anyway,
here we go.
You're right. And now like he's talking to people about, the Duroc is more docile and, anyway. So I think just introducing them to that, but make it more than just working on the farm. I think that was a big part when I was growing up and I just felt like a hired hand on the farm and I wasn't involved with the day-to-day decision making and those type of things. And I think you limit, we think, oh, they're just 16 years old or whatever. We started our kids at 9. When they became 4-H age, they had a project and it gives them ownership. I mean, Jenna took her project and turned it into a business and she learned invaluable things there. And so sometimes I think that we underestimate our kids and we shouldn't. They, but just give them a lot of different experiences and see which one sticks. Now, Jenna is one to take the main stage. She loves the microphone. And so she loves telling people about agriculture and recruiting them and how important it is for them to be a part and learn more. And so I think you have just to know what are your kids' gifts and what are your kids' interests and really try to cultivate that. And the thing about it is, even if they're not involved with production agriculture, they're still going to have that knowledge and that love. And I feel like when you're raised on a farm, it's just in you. It's just part of your being. And that'll exude out, whether it be on a main stage or in one-on-one conversations.
You bet. So, all right, you talked a little bit about the different things you've done for ag awareness. Let's do some plugs. Where can people, see the show? Is this stuff online? Where can folks get some of this stuff if they, even if they're not in your area? Is there somewhere they can get this?
Absolutely. If they're in South Central Kentucky, the Farm and Home Show airs at 5:15 in the morning on the ABC affiliate and then 7:15 on the Fox affiliate. And so if you're in those 41 counties that airs to, you can obviously catch it there, or we post it on social media, on Facebook and on YouTube, and our handle is Warren County Agriculture. So you can find all of our topics there. We have a host of playlists on our YouTube channel where you can go and research past topics and that kind of thing. So it's kind of our library of our 5-minute segments about different agriculture topics. The radio show airs at 8:30 a.m. Central Time on WKCT 104.1 FM. There's also a podcast available afterwards if you missed that show. We talk about markets, events, policy, those type of things. And then we're active on our social media accounts. We have Facebook and Instagram under the handle Warren County Agriculture. So I'd encourage you to follow us. We also have a blog, warrencountyagriculture.com. And then obviously we have warrencountyextension.com, where you can find out all the great things going on with the Warren County Extension Office.
I don't think you're going to be able to find her. They're not anywhere. It's a bummer.
Probably I could have said,
I think you could have Googled.
hey, listeners, just Google her name and you'll probably bump into something.
No, that's phenomenal. Listen, there are not a ton of counties in this state that have the opportunity to get that much viewership or listeners, or name your piece, however you want to say that, because y'all just have a really great base right there. So it's kind of phenomenal. And 41 counties across for a TV affiliate. What an awesome base to get to kind of kick it out to. So that's phenomenal. Joanna, I cannot thank you enough. Of course, we love when people come in the office, but I told him if we're going to drag her in for a Beef Month segment, there's a pretty high chance she's going to have to call in, because pretty much May 1 going forward, they're busy. So appreciate you taking time.
I wish you guys were here. You could have burgers with us.
Okay, so future reference, take it on the road.
Just hit the road.
We got to hit the road.
That's right.
Hit the road on this one.
Well, thank you so much. And we are so excited you were on here. And who knows, maybe we'll snag Jenna or your son. You don't have to be a microphone person. This is a little room with a little microphone. So we may grab him one of these days.
There you go.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys having me. Yeah, thank you guys.
All right. Thanks, Joanna. And thank you, listeners. Be sure to subscribe to our larger podcast, Kentucky Farm Life. And we'll see you next time on Between the Rows.